They told you that in a world ruled by alphas, an omega like you should know your place, so you kept to the shadows of the library, the cook's daughter in a pack where status was everything. You thought invisibility meant safety, that if you gave the world nothing, it would take nothing from you. That's where your story begins, the day 3 alpha heirs turned their eyes on you. You'd imagined danger would roar, bare its teeth, make itself known. Instead, it smiled and closed in a pack where dominance is survival. Refusing to kneel is the most dangerous move of all, and you're done, waiting to be chosen. Chapter 1. The air is cool and wet this morning, a thin mist clinging to the narrow streets of the pack's housing district. Cobblestones gleam with last night's rain, each step your boots take giving a soft scrape, a quiet reminder of how early it is. Lila walks beside you, hood down, her hair already frizzing from the damp. She keeps stealing glances at you, the corner of her mouth twitching like she's holding something back. 2 alpha heirs. Her voice drops into the tone she uses for the juiciest gossip. Both starting today. You keep your gaze forward, scanning the uneven stones ahead, the open shop doors, the way a few early risers pause their conversations when you pass. They say Rowan hails from the Eastern Territories, she goes on, her words skipping like pebbles on water. Tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of tall that makes you crane your neck. A small bakery sits ahead on the corner, its door propped open to let out the scent of fresh bread. The warmth spills into the chill air and you nod to the baker without slowing. He nods back, eyes lingering a moment too long. Lila bumps your arm. And the other, her voice sharpens. Lucian Drake. Your stride doesn't break, but the name lands like a pebble in still water, ripples spreading outward. He's been here before, you say, the words clipped. Sure, Lila teases, but now he's heir. Different game. Not him. She tilts her head, studying your profile, still holding that grudge. The road curves toward the main street. Shop signs swing on their chains, creaking softly. You watch the damp reflections of you both stretch and shrink in puddles as you walk. Lila is still talking. I heard the new guys are. A pair of teenagers rush past, laughing, the sound echoing between brick walls. You step aside to let them pass, feeling the familiar prickling at the back of your neck when strangers glance your way. The scent of pine drifts in on a breeze from the distant tree line, mingling with the heavier smells of town bread, leather, a hint of wood smoke. You're not even curious, Lila asks. You adjust your satchel strap higher on your shoulder. No, that's a lie, she sing-songs. You turn onto the main avenue. The pack crest hangs above the archway ahead the school gates, iron and stone, already busy with students streaming through. Laughter, shouted greetings, the slam of locker doors from inside. Lila leans closer, lowering her voice. I heard Rowan's polite. And Lucian. You stop just short of the gates. She grins. Lucian's still Lucian. Beyond the archway, the courtyard bustles. But you catch movement on the far side of the crowd, tall, dark, cutting through the chaos like the current of a river. For a moment, all you see is the way heads turn as he passes. The way space seems to open for him without a word. You don't need to hear his name. You already know who it is. The crowd at the gates keeps moving, but you don't. Lila's voice has already faded into the noise, her words about Lucian still echoing in your ears. The shape you glimpsed in the distance is closer now, boots hitting stone with measured weight, shoulders cutting through the current of bodies without a single touch. The space around him opens like instinct, as though the air itself is wary of pressing too close. Then you see the green, that sharp, unwavering stare you remember too well. Lucian Drake doesn't look away when he spots you. Your breath catches, not because of surprise, but because he walks as if the years between now and the last time he cornered you in a hallway never happened. As if the shift from schoolyard tormentor to alpha heir hasn't changed a single thing about the way he moves toward you with purpose, with ownership, with that infuriating slowness that forces you to wait. The chatter around you thins. You're aware of eyes following him, following you, connecting invisible lines between you both. When he stops in front of you, the scent hits cedarwood, faint mint, and something sharper underneath. He looks down at you like you've kept him waiting. Morning, cook's daughter. The title makes your jaw tighten. Lucian, his mouth curves. Not a smile, never a smile. You're going to be busy this year. You tilt your head, keeping your voice even. Why's that? Lucian steps in, close enough that the chill air is replaced by his heat. You're copying my homework every day. It's not a request. It's a statement carved into the air between you. You hold his gaze, refusing to step back. You think I have time for that? His smirk deepens. You'll make time. A group of younger students brushes past, and you shift just enough to let them through, forcing him to angle toward you to keep his position. His shadow drapes over you, blocking the weak morning light. The silence stretches, thick enough to feel. Then his eyes flick briefly over your shoulder toward the gates. A muscle in his jaw moves. You follow his line of sight without thinking, and that's when you see him. Rowan Hale. Taller than you expected, sunlight catching in his brown hair as he crosses the courtyard. His gaze is scanning the crowd, but the moment it lands on you, it stills. There's no hesitation in his stride as he changes direction, heading straight for where you and Lucian stand. Lucian shifts his weight, a subtle move, but the air around you changes, with it heavier, sharper, like the pressure drop before a storm. The gates behind you feel suddenly narrow, the space between the two alphas about to shrink into nothing, and you're standing right in the centre. Rowan closes the distance in long, unhurried strides, his gaze fixed on you, though you can feel the way it brushes over Lucian like a silent challenge. The crowd shifts with him, parting almost without thought, as if both of these alpha heirs carry their own gravity. Lucian doesn't move. His presence at your side is a solid wall, his shadow spilling across your boots. "Rowan Hale," he says, voice low, not quite friendly, not quite hostile. Rowan stops just outside arm's reach, giving you a brief nod before looking to Lucian. Lucian Drake. No handshake. No smile, just names traded like cards on a table. The tension isn't loud, but it's there, humming under the surface. You can almost hear it in the gap between their words. Before either can speak again, a sharp voice cuts through the courtyard noise. Ilara Vance. The principal stands at the edge of the gates, clipboard in hand, the crowd naturally clearing a path for him. His gaze flicks between you, Lucian, and Rowan, and it's impossible to miss the way his eyes linger on the space between the two alphas. "You'll be guiding our new transfer student today," he says, turning slightly toward Rowan. "Help him get settled. Show him where things are." Lucian's head tilts, just enough for you to notice the way his jaw tightens. Rowan gives a short nod. "Appreciated." The principal is already moving on, his attention swallowed by other students. Rowan shifts his focus back to you. "Shall we?" You glance once at Lucian, reading the unspoken warning in the set of his eyes. Then you step away, matching your pace to Rowan's as you head toward the main building. Lucian stays behind, but the weight of his stare follows you all the way to the doors. Inside, the hall smells faintly of floor polish and paper. Your footsteps echo in the stretch of corridor between the lockers, the sound oddly loud compared to Rowan's measured pace beside you. "First week here," he says, glancing at the row of classrooms you pass. "Not much time to make an impression before people decide who you are." You catch his tone casual, but edged with something you can't quite place. "People make up their minds fast here," you reply. Rowan's mouth twitches into a faint smile. "So I've heard." When you reach the classroom, you pause at the doorway. The noise inside dips as students notice the new arrival. Conversations falter, eyes tracking the two of you as you walk in. Lucian is already there, leaning back in his chair near the windows, arms folded. His gaze locks on Rowan first, then on you, and whatever trace of ease might have been in his posture evaporates. You take your seat, Rowan finding one a few desks away. Lucian's stare doesn't shift until the teacher steps in and the room reluctantly settles. By the time the bell rings for break, the air feels tighter. You're halfway through sorting your books when a shadow falls across your desk. "Lucian." He leans in just enough that his voice won't carry far. "Get my notebook from my locker." You look up at him, the words hanging between you. "I'm not your assistant." His eyes narrow slightly. "You are when I tell you to be." Before you can answer, Rowan steps in from behind, his presence closing off the space Lucian had claimed. "She's busy," he says, his voice even but carrying a firmness that draws a few heads nearby. "Get it yourself." Lucian's attention shifts, slow and deliberate, to Rowan. "This doesn't concern you." "It does," Rowan replies, "when you try to push people around in front of me." The silence that follows is sharp. A few students pretend to busy themselves with their bags, but their ears are turned this way. Lucian straightens, the corner of his mouth lifting not in amusement, but in something closer to a challenge. "Careful, new guy, you don't know the rules here." Rowan's gaze doesn't waver. Maybe it's time someone changed them. You can feel the weight of both of them standing there, the air thickening between their stares, and for a moment you think one of them might move first toward the other. Then the second bell rings, slicing through the tension, pulling the rest of the class back into their seats. Lucian steps back, just enough to break the deadlock. "Later," he says, though it's not clear which of you it's meant for. Chapter 2, the second bell rings, sharp and metallic, cutting through the stale classroom air. Desks scrape as students slide back into their seats, the noise barely covering the fact that Lucian and Rowan haven't moved. You're still at your desk, books stacked in front of you, watching them from the corner of your eye. Lucian's jaw is set like stone. Rowan's shoulders are loose but ready, his gaze steady. The teacher steps in, setting a folder down on the desk, and starts talking about assignments. No one's listening. Not to him, anyway. Lucian drags his chair back, the legs screeching against the floor. He stands, taking the long way past Rowan's desk. His shoulder brushes Rowan's, too deliberate to be an accident. Rowan's chair shifts with the impact. He looks up. "You have a problem." Lucian stops just behind your desk, turning enough to look down at him. "Not yet." There's a low sound in Rowan's throat, almost a growl. His eyes flash not bright, but catching the light in a way that makes the hair on your arms stand up. The air changes. It's subtle at first, a prickle across your skin, a pressure in your ears, as though the oxygen itself has thickened. You know that feeling, alpha energy. Key. And both of them are letting it seep out, a warning neither seems willing to take back. Students shift uncomfortably, some leaning back in their chairs, others glancing at the door. The teacher falters mid-sentence, eyes flicking toward the brewing standoff, but says nothing. Lucian takes a slow step closer to Rowan's desk. His hands curl slightly at his sides, and you see the faint shadow of claws press against his skin. His green eyes sharpen, the edges glowing faintly, predator bright. "You must be new if you think you can talk to me like that." Rowan rises from his seat, the movement smooth, controlled. His brown eyes darken, pupils narrowing, the faintest shimmer of gold threading through. Or maybe I'm not like the others here. The pressure in the room spikes, papers rustle on desks, a pen rolls off onto the floor, and no one bends to pick it up. You push your chair back and stand. Enough. Both of you. Neither looks at you. Lucian's lip curls slightly, revealing the hint of a sharpened canine. Rowan's stance widens, shoulders squaring, as if preparing for the first blow. You step between them, pressing your palms out against their chests. "I said, it happens too fast." Rowan's arm shifts, brushing yours aside without meaning to. Lucian moves at the same time, angling around you, and their bodies clash with a force that ripples through the floor. The shock shoves into you like a wave, sending you stumbling backward. For a second, all you see is the flash of green and gold in their eyes, the flecks of claws in the air between them, the way the light warps slightly around their shoulders as their energy collides. A deep, guttural growl reverberates in your bones. Your heel catches on a desk leg. The next thing you know, your shoulder hits the edge, and the world tips sideways. The ceiling blurs into view, the overhead lights haloing out. Somewhere far away, chairs scrape. Someone says your name sharp, urgent. The heavy thud of feet moves toward you. Then, nothing. The first thing you notice is the smell, faint antiseptic, mixed with something sweeter, maybe the faint trace of herbal tea. Your eyes blink open to a soft light. White ceiling, curtain rails, a steady ticking from somewhere near the door. Finally, you turn your head. Lila is perched on a chair at your bedside, knees pulled up, hair falling over one shoulder. Relief softens her expression, but it's mixed with something sharper. "You've been out for almost an hour." You push yourself up slowly, the thin blanket sliding down your arms. "What?" They almost shifted, Alara. Her voice is low but quick, as if the words can't wait to get out. "Lucian and Rowan, in the middle of class." You search her face for exaggeration. "There's none." She leans forward. "And when you got in the way, you went down like..." She snaps her fingers. "Gone, out cold." Everyone saw. You sit back against the pillows, the fabric cool against your shoulders. "That's not even the worst part," she adds. "Your silence is answer enough. Half the school is already saying they were fighting over you." Locker doors slam shut in rapid succession. A phone screen glows a blurry still of Lucian and Rowan mid-clash, claws visible. Two girls lean in near a water fountain, one whispering into the other's ear, eyes darting toward the camera's point of view. Cut to a group at the far end of the corridor, laughter bursts, quick and mean, followed by a sideways glance in your direction. A crumpled piece of paper gets passed hand to hand. A boy unfolds it, a rough sketch of you between two wolf silhouettes. Snatches of whispers layer over each other. "Did you hear?" Both of them at the same time. "Bet she's loving it." The bell rings overhead, jolting you back. You're standing now, moving down the hall with Lila at your side. Her voice is steady, but her eyes keep scanning for eavesdroppers. "They're saying Lucian's into you." she says, tone flat like she doesn't buy it. And Rowan, well, they're filling in their own details about him too. You catch a pair of juniors stepping aside as you pass, their conversation abruptly cut short. By the time you reach your next class, the weight of the stairs is a physical thing pressing against your skin. Lila touches your arm lightly. Just keep your head down for the rest of the day, okay? You nod, though you both know it won't matter. The story's already out there, and it's moving faster than you can. White ceiling, steady ticking, a faint antiseptic smell that doesn't quite mask the herbal scent of something brewing nearby. Your eyes blink open. The light is soft here, diffused through thin curtains. Finally, Lila's voice says from your left. You turn your head. She's slouched in a chair, knees pulled up, hair a bit of a mess like she's been running her hands through it. Relief crosses her face, but it's tangled with something else, irritation maybe. You've been out almost an hour, she says. You push yourself up on one elbow. The thin blanket slips down your arm. What happened? Her eyebrows shoot up. What happened? Lucian and Rowan happened, in the middle of class. And you... She makes a quick chopping motion with her hand, went straight down when you tried to stop them. You blink at her. They almost shifted, Alara. She leans forward, voice low. Claws, eyes, the whole thing. If the bell hadn't rung, I think they would have gone for it. Your chest feels tight. But before you can reply, she adds, and the rumour mill? Oh, it's on fire. Lockers slam open and shut in quick rhythm, the sound overlapping with bursts of hushed laughter. Close up of a phone screen, a blurry freeze frame of Lucian and Rowan facing off, claws just visible. Two girls by the stairwell, leaning in so close their hair nearly tangles. One whispers into the other's ear, her eyes flicking toward the lens as if she knows you're there. Cut to a cluster of boys leaning against a wall, scrolling through something, grinning. Bet she's loving it. One voice overlaps another. And both of them, at the same time. Another phone, another photo. This one has you in the frame, caught mid-step between them, looking up at Lucian. The image gets passed from hand to hand, each reaction louder than the last. They're saying, Lila continues, Lucian likes you, and Rowan's, she waves a hand, whatever people think he's doing, it involves you. They've already decided you're the centre of it. You swing your legs over the side of the bed. The floor is cool under your shoes. Where are they now? You ask. She shrugs. No idea. Probably avoiding each other. Or not. The bell rings overhead. You step out with Lila, the air in the corridor shifting as soon as you join the flow of students. First, the glances, quick, sharp, like camera flashes you can't block. Then the way conversations dip when you pass, like a volume knob being turned down. At the far end, a group near the lockers breaks into a low laugh. You don't catch the words, but you don't have to. The look is enough. Halfway to your next class, you see someone nudge their friend and tilt their head toward you. The friend looks, smirks, then goes back to their phone. You keep moving, Leela a step behind, her presence steady but quiet. By the time you reach your classroom door, the noise around you feels thinner, stretched. Every eye you can feel is a reminder whatever happened between Lucian and Rowan. The whole school thinks it's about you, and no one's going to let you forget it. The cafe's front windows glow warm against the dimming sky. Inside, light pools over polished wood tables, steam curling from mugs. You're seated near the window with Rowan, the low hum of conversation wrapping around you both. Rowan leans forward, saying something that pulls a small, unwilling smile from you. Outside, a shadow passes by. Cut to Lucian across the street. Leaning against a lamppost, his gaze locks on you through the glass. The set of his jaw hardens. Rowan's hand gestures towards something in your notebook. You nod, jotting down a quick note. The door opens behind you. The little brass bell jingles. Lucian steps in. He doesn't move toward you. Not yet. His eyes track every movement, the way Rowan leans slightly closer, the way your head tilts when you listen. He turns away only when a server asks if he's staying. No, he says, voice clipped, and walks back out. The two of you leave the cafe, Rowan carrying the paper bag with what's left of the pastries. You walk side by side, the street lamps flickering to life above. Half a block back, Lucian follows. Not close enough to be obvious, not far enough to lose sight. Camera cuts between. You'll laugh at something, Rowan says, Lucian's hand flexing once at his side. The rhythmic scuff of his boots on the pavement. You stop at your front door, key in hand. Rowan glances up at the darkened windows. Sure you'll be fine, he asks. You nod. I'll see you tomorrow. He leaves. His footsteps fade. Lucian waits until the street is empty before crossing. The window latch clicks softly. You turn at the sound, startled. Lucian swings inside, landing silently on the floor. What? You start, but his head turns sharply toward the bed, a faint rustle. Then the glint of scales. Stay back! He's there in 2 strides, hand gripping the frame as he crouches. A hiss cuts the air, the snake lunges. Lucian's arm flashes, claws sliding free just enough to catch it mid-strike. One sharp movement and it's over. The body drops to the floorboards. Your breath is still uneven when he straightens, his green eyes scanning the room. You should lock your window, he says. The light from the street catches in his eyes, still sharp, still a little wild from the rush of the kill. He takes a step closer. Close enough that the scent of cedar and mint edges into your breath. You shouldn't let him walk you home, he adds, each word measured. The camera holds on you, standing your ground, before fading to black. Chapter 3. Lucian straightens from the crouch, the limp body of the snake dangling from his grip. The faint thud as it hits the floorboards makes you flinch before you can stop yourself. He doesn't miss it. That window, he says, his voice a low grind, should have been locked. You cross your arms, more for control than warmth. I didn't expect anyone or anything to climb in tonight. His eyes lift from the floor to you. The green is sharp, almost cutting in the muted lamplight. Except Rowan, right? You blink. What? He walked you home, Lucian says, stepping toward you. His boots are near silent on the rug, but the weight of him fills the room. I saw it. You let him walk you right to your door. He was just what? His voice doesn't rise, but the edge in it tightens, coiling between each word. Filling in the time until I showed up? Your fingers curl against your arm. You can't just... Lucian keeps coming, closing the gap in the slow, deliberate steps. His shoulders block the lamplight, his shadow washing over you until your back grazes the wall. I can, he says quietly, when it's about you. The air feels heavier now, thickened by his presence. He leans one arm against the wall near your head, tilting closer, his other hand brushing a loose strand of hair back behind your ear. His knuckles linger there, warm against your skin, and the cedar scent in his clothes drifts over you. You don't get it, he says, eyes locked on yours. With him, you laugh easy. You let him close. But with me, his hand slides down, tracing the side of your neck until his palm rests against your waist. You're alert. You feel every second. You swallow, trying to keep your voice steady. And you think that's a good thing? He smiles, slow and humorless. I think it means you can't ignore me. You open your mouth to answer, but his gaze drops to your lips, and whatever reply you had slips away. Lucian moves in, not abrupt, but with a certainty that leaves no room for retreat. The first brush of his mouth is warm, demanding, carrying the same controlled intensity as everything he does. His free hand catches your wrist, drawing it up to the wall beside your head, holding it there not rough, but firm enough that you can feel the steady press of his pulse. Your other hand comes up, palm against his chest. You can feel the muscle shift under your fingers as he leans in harder, the kiss deepening. His breath mingles with yours, and for a moment the world narrows to the heat of his body and the cedar wrapping around you. He shifts slightly, angling to deepen the kiss, and the movement presses you more firmly into the wall. Your breath stutters, and his responds in kind, quicker, heavier. The creak of the floorboards outside your door makes you freeze. A knock. Elara? Your mother's voice, close. Lucian goes still, lips parting from yours, his breath warm against your cheek. His eyes hold yours for one long, unblinking beat. Then he steps back, slow, releasing your wrist. You exhale, the rush of air cool against your damp lips. He turns toward the window, glancing over his shoulder once. Lock it, he says, the words almost a growl. Then he's gone, a flicker of shadow slipping out into the night. The curtain sways in the quiet, and you're left standing against the wall, the echo of his touch still warm on your skin. The library holds its breath. Light filters in through high windows, slicing the air into warm stripes across the polished wooden floor. Dust motes drift in lazy spirals. The faint hum of the air system blends with the soft squeak of your cart's wheels as you guide it down the main aisle. The scent of paper and old binding glue lingers in the stillness. You take a returned book from the cart, sliding it into its slot on the shelf. The motion is calm, methodical until the sound breaks. Heels, not rushed, not hesitant measured, deliberate. Each click echoes against the wood and stone, growing louder as they approach. You glance up. Miranda Drake rounds the corner from the reference section. Her lips curve immediately, not in greeting, but in something sharper, a smirk that scans you head to toe as if she's taking inventory of what she considers flaws. Well, she says, tone light, but dipped in venom, look who's been given the run of the place. I didn't think they let you work here. You push the cart forward a few inches, the wheels complaining softly. Do you need help finding something? Miranda drifts closer to the end of your aisle, leaning one manicured hand on the shelf. Her gaze barely touches the books. Oh, I'm not here for that. Just checking in on our little celebrity. Her eyes narrow, the corners glinting with amusement. You've been busy this week? That little classroom stunt 2 alphas about to rip each other apart over you? You slide another book into place without looking at her. Believe what you want. She steps into the aisle, closing the distance by 2 deliberate paces. You know, it's almost sweet, the way they circle around you like you're worth the trouble. Almost. Her smile sharpens. But you and I both know how this ends. Their attention? It doesn't last. Someone like you, she tilts her head, eyes scanning you with slow precision, doesn't keep a place in their world for long. Your grip on the book in your hand tightens, and when they move on, she continues, I wonder who you'll have left. The faintest sound interrupts her, not loud, but distinct. Footsteps, heavier than hers, slower. Miranda glances toward the sound, her smirk faltering just a fraction. Lucian appears at the end of the aisle. He doesn't look at you first. His gaze goes straight to Miranda, and it's not sharp, it's cold. The kind of cold that strips the smirk from a face without a word. Leave. Miranda blinks. I said leave. His tone is low, flat, but it pushes into the space between the 3 of you like a physical weight. Miranda straightens, hands smoothing down her skirt. I was having a conversation. No, Lucian says, stepping forward. You were wasting your breath, and mine. Something in his stare freezes her. She exhales sharply through her nose, turns on her heel, and the click of her shoes speeds up as she disappears between the stacks. The silence that follows is different from the quiet, before thicker, edged with the trace of Lucian's presence. His eyes shifted to you. She bothering you? You turn back to the shelf, sliding the book into place. I can handle her. He steps closer, eyes skimming the spines in front of you before settling on the book you've just shelved. That one any good? It's different, you say, reaching for another from the cart. About someone who thinks they hate another person, but they don't. He finishes. You glance at him. The corner of his mouth tilts upward. Not enough to be a smile, but enough to suggest he knows exactly what he's doing. He closes another small gap between you, slow and deliberate. The faint cedar scent in his clothes threads into the still library air, tangling with the paper and dust. His hand lifts. You feel the back of his fingers brush against yours where it rests on the cart handle light, but unmistakable. Your breath stills. Lucian's gaze dips, holding at your mouth for a beat, before returning to your eyes. The space between you is narrow enough now that you can hear the shift of his breath. Then he leans in. The kiss is unhurried, deliberate, nothing like the sharp heat of last night. His lips press into yours with steady pressure, testing, but certain. His free hand rises, fingers brushing along your jaw before his thumb rests at your cheek, holding you just enough to guide the angle. The wooden cart handle is solid under your grip. His other hand is steady warmth against your skin. The quiet wraps around you, the world reduced to the slow slide of his mouth over yours, the faint hitch in his breath when you match his pace. When he pulls back, it's not quick. His eyes open last. The green sharpened, something unreadable flickering at the edges. See you around, cook's daughter. He turns, his departure unhurried, each step measured until the shelves swallow him from view. The silence returns, but it's changed thicker, warmer, carrying the echo of his touch. You stand among the books, the cedar scent still caught in the air, the taste of him still warm on your lips. The sky is still bright when you leave the library, but the air carries the faint coolness that says evening isn't far. The last traces of cedar and paper cling to your clothes, reminders of the moment that happened between the shelves. You keep your head down, walking quickly toward the gates, hoping the quiet will hold for the rest of the day. It doesn't. By the time you cross the courtyard, eyes are already tracking you. Not the curious kind, the knowing kind. Small knots of students break off their conversations when you pass, their whispers slipping into the space you leave behind. You don't have to ask what they're talking about. 2 girls near the lockers pause mid-laugh, their gazes sweeping over you with the kind of smile that isn't friendly. One leans closer into the other, covering her mouth, and you catch it. Bet. The word drops into you like a stone. Another few steps, and it's there again. this time from the group huddled around a phone, the bright screen angled so the others can see. Their grins are quick and sharp. Someone glances up and meets your eyes. Not with shame, but with the smug satisfaction of someone who thinks they've found a flaw to hold over you. You keep walking. Lila finds you at the bottom of the stairwell. "Hey," she says, falling into step beside you, her eyes already scanning the hall. "You've heard it, right?" "Heard what?" She exhales like she hates being the one to say it. "Miranda's telling everyone the kiss was a bet." The noise of the hallway dulls for a moment, even though you know it hasn't gotten quieter. "She says Lucian only kissed you to win some stupid game with his friends," Lila continues, her voice low. "And people are eating it up because, well, it's Miranda." You round the corner together, the rows of lockers flanking you like narrow walls. The sound of a book slamming shut makes you glance left, another pair of students watching you too openly, their conversation dying the second your eyes land on them. Lila leans closer. "I told a couple of them she's full of it, but you know how this works. She's got her own crowd. And once they start talking, it sticks. You finish." She nods, her lips pressing thin. At the far end of the hall, you catch sight of Miranda herself. She's standing with two others, her posture loose, easy the posture of someone who knows they control the room. Her laugh rings out as she says something to her friends, and then, without breaking her smile, her eyes slide to you. The look is brief, but it's enough. She turns back to her circle, and their quiet amusement spikes again. Lila mutters something under her breath you don't quite catch. You take the long way to your next class, but it doesn't help. Every corner you turn seems to carry another low voice, another glance, another quick half smile that dies when you meet it. By the time you sink into your seat, the air feels thick with it, the rumour sitting in the room like a fourth presence. No one acknowledges directly. When the final bell rings, you're one of the first out. The corridors are less crowded now, but the few who remain still seem to carry it with them, the sideways looks, the faint smirk from someone passing in the opposite direction. Outside, the air is cooler, cleaner. You draw in a breath and keep walking, trying to let the school fall behind you. But even in the fading light, the echo of their whispers feels like it's following you home. Chapter 4. The Saturday air is warm, sunlight slanting across the street in the lazy gold stripes when Rowan catches up to you outside the grocery store. He has a paper list folded in one hand, the corner of his mouth lifting. "Shopping alone?" he asks, falling into step beside you. You glance at the list. "Looks like you're not." "Come with me," he says, not quite a question. Two hands are better than one. Inside, the market hums with quiet bustle. Wooden crates overflow with apples, oranges, greens still damp from rinsing. Rowan steers the small cart with one hand, the other occasionally reaching past you to pluck something from a display. "Hold this," he says, handing you a bag of tomatoes. His fingers brush yours just enough to linger. You follow him through the aisle's spices, bread, a bundle of fresh herbs. He pauses by the butcher counter, looking at you instead of the cuts on ice. "Do you like rosemary? Or thyme?" "Either's fine." "Rosemary then, he decides, smiling like it was always going to be his choice. By the time you're at the register, the cart is half full, and you're carrying the herbs. Outside, he shifts the bags into one arm so he can open the passenger door of a sleek black sedan for you. Rowan's house sits at the edge of a quiet street, set back far enough that the sound of town fades at the gate. Inside, the kitchen is wide, sunlight spilling across marble counters. He sets the bags down. "Apron's in that drawer." You tie it on while he unpacks, arranging vegetables in neat rows. He rinses the tomatoes, handing them to you one by one. Your hands meet in the exchange. Neither of you comments on it. "You chop," he says, passing you a knife. He works beside you, slicing onions, his shoulder brushing yours whenever he shifts toward the stove. "Smells good already," you say as he drops onions into a hot pan. "Wait until you taste it," he replies, glancing at you from the corner of his eye. You're stirring sauce when his phone buzzes on the counter. He glances at the screen, then slides it toward you. It's for you. The name on the display stops you, Lucian. You hesitate, then answer. "What do you want?" His voice comes through sharp, low. "Where are you?" "Busy." There's a pause, then, "With him?" Before you can reply, the line goes dead. Rowan's brows lift slightly. "Lucian," you nod, setting the phone down. Minutes later, the sound of tires on gravel cuts through the quiet kitchen. Rowan's eyes flick toward the window, then back to you. "Looks like we're having company." The front door opens without a knock. Lucian steps in, scanning the room. His gaze catches on you, then slides to Rowan. Rowan doesn't move from his spot beside you. "We're cooking." Lucian's mouth curves, but there's no humour in it. "Smells nice." His eyes stay on Rowan. Shame you're wasting your time. The air between them tightens, invisible but heavy. Rowan sets down the spoon in his hand, leaning one elbow lightly on the counter. Some of us don't think time spent with her is wasted. Lucian takes a step closer. You can feel both their gazes now, the heat of two different kinds of attention. No one says the next thing. The kitchen clock ticks once, loud in the stillness. The library is warm with late afternoon light, the high windows catching gold along the edges of the shelves. You're behind the front desk, scanning in returns, the soft beep of the machine steady and low. A couple of patrons are scattered through the room, an older man reading the paper near the window. Two students quietly comparing notes at a table. The door opens, your eyes flick up automatically and stop. Lucian Drake stands just inside, holding a bouquet of deep red roses. Not one or two, a full, rich bunch, the petals tight and dark like drops of wine. It's not the flowers that make you pause. It's him. No smirk, no calculated lean against the doorframe. His jaw is tight, but not with anger, something else. Something you can't pin down. He walks forward, the sound of his boots on the floorboards drawing the eyes of the man with the paper, then the students. You glance at the stack of returns, then back to him. Need something? Lucian stops in front of the desk. His gaze flicks briefly to the onlookers, then returns to you. Yeah, he sets the bouquet down between you. The scent of the roses rolls across the desk, heady and sweet. These are for you. The older man by the window is no longer pretending to read. One of the students leans an elbow on the table, eyes on the scene. You rest a hand lightly on the desk. Why? Lucian exhales once through his nose. Because I was an ass. The words hang there, not loud, but loud enough for the two students to exchange a look. You pick up the bouquet, turning it slightly, then set it back down. That's honest of you. His mouth twitches, not quite a smile. I should have listened instead of... He stops, glancing at the audience again, then back at you. I'm sorry. You study him for a beat, then move the flowers to the side of the desk. Apology noted. A few seconds pass where neither of you says anything. The two students realise the show's over and bend back over their notes. Though you can still feel the old man's gaze lingering, Lucian shifts, clearly unused to the weight of silence landing on him this way. When do you finish here? In an hour. I'll wait, he says, like it's already decided. An hour later, you're sliding your bag over your shoulder as you step out the library's side door. Lucian is leaning against the hood of a black car parked along the curb, hands in his jacket pockets. I'll take you home, he says. You start down the steps. No need. A second car pulls up before he can answer. Rowan leans across the passenger seat to push the door open. Ready? You walk past Lucian, stepping into Rowan's car without looking back. The door shuts with a clean, final click. Through the window, you see Lucian watching, his face unreadable, no smirk, no glare, just a stillness that follows you even as Rowan pulls away. The roses are still on the library desk. The late afternoon light has already thinned into the softer gold of early evening by the time you and Rowan step out of the library. The quiet outside is a welcome change from the weight of stairs you left behind inside. Rowan's car is parked just down the curb. He moves ahead a step, pulling the passenger door open for you with an easy, practiced motion. After you, he says. You slide in, the cool leather seat sighing under your weight. He shuts the door gently before walking around to the driver's side. The engine hums to life, a deep, steady sound. As he pulls away from the curb, the reflection of the library windows slips past in the side mirror and in the same frame. Lucian still standing there on the sidewalk, just watching. The image disappears before you can look twice. The streets are quieter now. The heavier traffic already faded toward the main roads. Soft orange spills from the street lamps as they flicker on, one by one, casting rhythmic glows across Rowan's profile. You looked like you were about ready to set fire to the place back there, Rowan says, not taking his eyes off the road. You huff a quiet laugh. It was a long day. Long week, he corrects, shifting into the next gear with a smooth roll of his wrist. His forearm brushes lightly against your sleeve before returning to the wheel. The car smells faintly of leather and something herbal, his cologne, subtle but grounding. You notice how he drives with his left hand steady on the wheel, right arm resting along the console, fingers drumming against the leather. You know, he says, eyes flicking to you before returning forward. Lucian's had his way for too long. People let him push because he pushes hard. And you don't. Not the same way, he answers easily. A small smile touches his lips. When I push, it's not to control, it's to get closer. The street opens into a long, tree-lined stretch, the branches overhead lacing into one another. Shadows sway over the windshield, crossing his face in slow patterns. He slows as they approach an intersection. You deserve better than being someone's bad habit. The light turns red, and the car stops with a soft brake. Rowan turns fully toward you, one arm draped over the wheel. I'm not here just to be the guy who steps in when Lucian's being himself. I want more than that. The air feels thicker. But it's not uncomfortable. It's deliberate, like he's giving each word space to land. I want to pursue you, Alara, he says plainly. Not as a rescue, not as a favor, because I want to. You open your mouth, but before you can form a response, the sharp tap-tap of knuckles on glass jolts you both. Your head snaps to the passenger window. Lucian stands there under the pale glow of the street lamp, shadow pooling behind him. His green eyes catch the light in a way that's almost unnatural, focused, unblinking, and entirely on you. Rowan's jaw tightens. His hand moves to the window controls and lowers it halfway. Something you need. Lucian doesn't look at him. Get out of the car. Your seatbelt suddenly feels snugger. Lucian! Rowan's voice cuts over yours, calm but edged. She's fine where she is. Now, Lucian's gaze shifts, slow as a blade turning, to Rowan. Not with you, she isn't. The words land heavy, and the silence that follows is sharper than anything shouted. Rowan leans back slightly, but it's not retreat. You think you get to decide that? Lucian steps closer, resting one hand on the open edge of the window. His shadow spills across your lap, the cedar scent on him cutting through the car's interior. When it's about her, yeah, I do. The two of them lock eyes. The idling engine hums under the tension, a low vibration through the floor. Somewhere down the street, a dog barks once, and then nothing. Rowan's knuckles flex once against the wheel, but he doesn't look away. You keep talking like she's a piece of territory. Maybe that's why she's sitting in my car right now. Lucian's eyes narrow a fraction, but the rest of him is carved from stillness. Enjoy it while you can. The street lamp hums. Your pulse is loud in your ears. Rowan's lips curl in a humorless smile. I intend to. For a moment, no one moves. The air between the two men is like a drawn wire. One wrong touch, and it'll snap. Lucian's gaze slides back to you. It's not softer, but there's something in it you can't name. Then he steps back, letting his hand fall from the window frame. He doesn't look away until Rowan shifts the car into gear. As the car pulls forward, Lucian's figure stays framed in the mirror for 3 street lamps before the night swallows him. Chapter 5. The house is quiet when you step inside, the faint click of the lock behind you echoing in the stillness. You toe off your shoes and head for your room, the dim glow of the street lamp outside your window casting long shadows across the floor. You're halfway to changing when you hear it a soft scrape at the window latch. Before you can move, the pane lifts and Lucian slips inside in one smooth motion. His boots land without a sound on the wood. He straightens, eyes finding you instantly in the low light. Lucian, I'm not here to fight, he says, his voice low but steady. The tension in his shoulders eases just enough for you to notice he's not braced for an argument. He steps closer, the scent of cedar wrapping around you. I'm here because I can't leave it like this. The light from the street cuts across his face, catching the sharp line of his jaw and the green in his eyes. He stops an arm's length away. From the first time I saw you, I couldn't ignore you, even when I pretended I could. You search his face, unsure if you've ever seen it stripped of its usual shields like this. He takes his phone from his pocket, unlocking it without breaking eye contact. You deserve to hear it from her. Before you can ask, he's dialing. The ring barely finishes before Miranda's voice crackles through, sharp and annoyed. What do you want, Lucian? Tell her, he says flatly. A pause. Tell her what? That you lied. That there was no bet. His tone doesn't rise, but each word lands like a weight. On the other end, Miranda scoffs. You're really... Now, Miranda. The silence stretches. Then, grudgingly, fine, there was no bet. I made it up. Lucian ends the call without a goodbye. The phone drops back into his pocket. The room feels smaller somehow, the air heavier. I'm not asking you to forgive me for everything I did, he says. I'm just asking you to believe that part. You stand there, the quiet between you filled with the faint hum of the street lamp outside and the echo of his voice. Lucian steps back towards the window, but his eyes linger on you. Good night, cook's daughter. And then he's gone, the curtains swaying in the wake of his departure. The night air still clings to your curtains after Lucian slips out. You're still standing by the window, the faint hum of the street lamp bleeding into the quiet. When the sound comes not from outside, but from just below, a dull thud, you move fast, heart lurching as you shove the curtain aside. Lucian is on the ground, one knee buckled under him, the other arm braced weakly on the grass. His head hangs forward, breath ragged. You don't think you just go. The door slams behind you as you rush down the steps. Lucian! His eyes lift to you, the green dimmed, unfocused. He tries to push himself upright, but his body sags again, knees sinking into the earth. By the time you reach him, his skin is too warm, the heat radiating up through your palms when you grip his shoulders. Can you stand? A faint shake of his head. His voice is barely there. Don't touch my mouth. Confusion flickers. But it's drowned by urgency. You get at your arm under his and pull, his weight heavier than you expect. Footsteps pound in the distance. Other pack members closing in, drawn by your shout. Minutes blur. You're in the pack's medical room, the light brighter, the air sharp with antiseptic. Lucian lies on a cot, chest rising unevenly. A small crowd gathers faces you know, others you don't. The pack healer, an older woman with sharp eyes and sure hands, leans over him. Her fingers hover above his chest, then his jaw, not quite touching, feeling the air between. Love magic, she says finally, her tone clipped. Old and strong, passed through a kiss. The murmurs around you spike, low but unmistakable. You take a step back, but the movement catches the wrong eyes. Miranda pushes forward from the edge of the group, her voice cutting through the whispers. Well, we all know who that would be, don't we? The room stills. You feel every gaze swing your way. Lucian's hand moves not fast, but enough to stop you. His eyes crack open, focus sharpening just enough to find Miranda. No, he says, his voice rough but certain. It wasn't her. Miranda scoffs. You're defending her now? Lucian, she's the only... Celine, he interrupts, the word like stone hitting the floor. A ripple goes through the room, not relief exactly, but a shift in the current of suspicion. Miranda's mouth tightens. She opens it again, but one look from Lucian keeps whatever she was going to say locked behind her teeth. The healer adjusts the sheet over his chest. He needs rest, and if this magic stays, it'll keep draining him. Lucian doesn't look away from you, even as his eyes start to close again. You stand there long after the others drift out, the echo of his defense and the name he spoke still heavy in your ears. His breathing steadies to a slow rhythm, but the heat in the room feels different now, like something unseen is still pressing against both of you. The medical room has emptied. The overhead lights have been dimmed, leaving only a desk lamp casting a warm circle of light across the cot. Outside, crickets hum under the muted roll of the night wind. Lucian lies still, the rise and fall of his chest slow but steady. A faint flush of heat still clings to his skin, his hair damp at the temples. You stand at the foot of the bed, fingers tightening around the small glass vial the healer left behind. Something to cool his fever, nothing more. The healer's words replay. Passed through a kiss. Old magic, strong. You set the vial down on the side table. Step closer. His face is turned slightly toward you, lashes shadowing his cheekbones. The tension in his jaw has eased in sleep, but the faint crease between his brows remains. Like even now he's bracing against something. You sit on the edge of the cot. The mattress dips under your weight, shifting his shoulder just enough that his arm brushes yours. The air smells faintly of cedar still, though dulled by the heat coming off his skin. You take a breath, lean forward, and rest your palm lightly against his cheek. His skin is hot under your hand, the warmth almost pulsing. Just don't wake up angry, you murmur. Your other hand slides behind his head, fingers threading lightly into his hair. You bend until your forehead rests against his for a moment, steadying yourself. Then you close the distance. The kiss is soft at first, barely there, but the heat between your mouths sparks immediately. The air in the room shifts, the faint scent of rosemary and smoke curling into your senses. Under your hand, a shiver runs through him, not the kind of shiver from fever, something sharper, like the echo of a jolt through his system. You keep the contact, feeling the pulse of the magic break and twist under the connection. A faint golden thread of light, not bright, but visible, seems to coil, and then snap away into nothing. His breathing changes, deeper, more even. You pull back slowly, your hand still at his cheek. The flush on his skin is already fading from fever red to something warmer, healthier. Lucian's eyes don't open, but his lips part just enough for a faint exhale that brushes against your fingers. You stand, stepping back toward the doorway, pausing once to glance at him under the lamplight. The crease in his brow is gone. Outside, the night is still. Inside, the air feels lighter, but the weight of what you just did follows you out of the room. Chapter 6. The night air still clings to you when you step back into your room. The curtain sways faintly from where you slipped out not long ago. Your hands are cool, but your chest is warm with the ghost of what you just did. You turn toward the bed and freeze. Lucian is sitting there. He's leaning back against your pillows like he's been there for hours, legs stretched out, one arm draped over his stomach. His shirt is rumpled, hair mussed, but his eyes are alert and fixed on you. "You shouldn't be up," you say quietly. "I shouldn't be alive," he replies, voice low with a hint of something unreadable. And yet, his gaze drifts down you, deliberate. "Here I am, and here you are, looking like you've seen a ghost." You shut the door behind you. "How did you even—" "I walked," he says simply. "Wasn't going to sleep without seeing you." He pats the space beside him. "Come here." You hesitate, but he doesn't push, just waits, eyes steady. Finally, you step closer. Lucian shifts, making room. When you sit, the mattress dips, and the warmth from his body leaks into your side. "You're pale," he says after a moment, his eyes scanning your face. "You've been burning yourself out again." "I'm fine." "You're not." His tone sharpens slightly. "I can feel it." Before you can respond, his hand comes up, brushing your hair back. His palm lingers against your cheek, cool compared to the heat in his skin earlier. "I can take some of it," he murmurs. "Some of what?" "The weight. The drain. Whatever's eating at you." His arm slides around your shoulders, pulling you in until your temple rests against his collarbone. The steady thud of his heart beats against your ear. For a while, neither of you speaks. The room is warm, the world outside muted to the sound of his breathing and the faint shift of fabric when he adjusts, drawing you closer. "You didn't have to come here," you say finally. "I did," he answers, "because I owe you more than I can pay back right now." His grip tightens briefly, not enough to trap, just enough to anchor. "And because I can't stand the thought of you hurting when I can do something about it." The warmth between you builds slowly, not the sharp heat of a fight or a kiss, but something steadier, heavier. His thumb moves in slow circles on your arm, an absent motion that still feels deliberate. You shift slightly to look up at him. The lamplight throws shadows across his jaw, softening the hard lines without hiding them. His eyes hold yours for a long moment before dropping to your mouth, not moving closer, just looking like he's memorizing it. When he finally leans back against the pillows, he pulls you with him until you're lying side by side, his arms still wrapped around you. "Sleep," he says quietly, and for once, you let him have the last word. The room is still dim when you stir. The faintest hint of dawn presses against the curtains, softening the edges of everything. You're warm not from the blanket, but from the steady weight of Lucian's arm resting over your waist. You shift slightly, and his grip tightens by instinct. His voice is low, rough from sleep. "Don't move yet." You glance up. His eyes are open, green catching the muted light. He studies your face for a long moment before speaking again. "Come with me to the bonfire." It's not a question. You blink. "Lucian, be my date," he says, the words even, as unshakable as a vow. You push up onto one elbow, his arm falling away reluctantly. "You can't just—" "I can," he cuts in, propping himself up to match your height. "And I am." There's no smirk this time, no taunting edge, just that steady, unblinking focus that makes it impossible to tell if he's daring you to refuse or expecting you to agree. The early light catches the faint bruise of exhaustion under his eyes, the reminder of last night's collapse. "I'm not," you start, but he leans closer, close enough that his breath brushes your cheek. "I want you there," he says quietly. "With me." Your heartbeat feels too loud in the silence that follows. He finally eases back, swinging his legs over the side of the bed. The floor creaks under his weight as he stands, running a hand through his hair. "Think about it." You watch him cross to the window. He pauses with one hand on the frame, glancing back once before slipping out into the fading shadows of night. By the time you reach the kitchen later that morning, the sky is brighter, the air carrying the faint scent of coffee and toast. Lila is already there, perched on a stool, scrolling through her phone. She glances up. "You're up early, or did you just not sleep?" You open the fridge, grabbing juice. "Something like that." Her eyes narrow. "Lucian!" You don't answer, and she doesn't press, but the look she gives you says she's filing it away for later. The day moves, but the weight of his words follows you. By the time the sun tilts toward late afternoon, you find yourself replaying the way he said it, not asking, not pleading, just setting it down like a stone you'd have to step over to ignore. Evening brings a thin, cool breeze. You're in your room again, the muted hum of the outside world filtering in through the window. Your phone buzzes. It's a short message. No name. Just, "I'll pick you up." You stare at it for a long moment before setting it down. The knock at the door comes exactly when you expect it. Not early, not late. You open it to find Lucian there, the porch light catching on the edges of his jacket. He looks the same as he always does, controlled, composed, but there's something in his eyes that anchors you in place. Ready? You should say no. You should close the door. Instead, you step outside, the click of the latch behind you swallowed by the cool night air. His gaze holds yours for a beat longer before he turns toward the car. The morning air is crisp when you step out, phone in hand. You're halfway down the porch steps when Rowan's car pulls up. The driver's side window slides down and he leans an elbow against the frame. "Get in. We need to talk." You glance toward the street, but there's no one else around. With a small exhale, you circle the hood and slip into the passenger seat. The faint smell of coffee clings to the interior, mixing with Rowan's clean, earthy scent. He doesn't start the engine, just looks at you, jaw tight. "You spent the night with him. It's not a question." You meet his gaze evenly. "And?" The muscle in his cheek ticks. "And you didn't think that mattered?" "It's not what you think." "What I think," he says, voice low, "is that Lucian Drake has had too many chances to mess with you, and you just gave him another one." You turn toward the window. "Believe what you want." His hand tightens on the wheel, then releases. "You know I'm not blind. I saw the way he looked at you before I ever said a word to you. He's not going to stop." The silence stretches until you reach for your phone on the console. "We done? For now." His tone makes it clear the conversation isn't over in his mind. Later, you're back inside, halfway to your room before you realise you left your phone in his car. You head back out, following the sound of the idling engine. The passenger door is unlocked. You open it and freeze. Rowan's head is tilted back against the seat, eyes half-lidded, his breathing deeper. His lips move just faintly, and it takes a beat to realise he's murmuring something. Your name. The sound of it, low and unguarded, pulls the air tighter around you. His fingers curl loosely against his thigh, and there's a flicker in his expression, something raw, almost vulnerable. You step back, shutting the door quietly. The soft click barely registers over the thud in your ears. Inside again, you lean against the door, the image of him still clear in your mind, the way he said your name like it was the only thing he knew. Chapter 7. The cafe is warm with the smell of roasted beans and cinnamon. You're at the counter, a tray in hand, waiting for your takeaway order. The murmur of conversation hums under soft music. A flicker of movement catches your eye through the front window. Outside, parked just across the street, Lucian leans against his car. Alicia is there, her hand brushing his arm, her head tilted toward him. They're close enough that her laughter seems meant for his ear alone. For a moment, the scene is framed perfectly in the glass. Lucian looking down at her, Alicia looking up at him, their bodies angled in. The barista calls your name, breaking the stillness. You turn back, take the coffee, and step away from the window without another glance. The air is cooler here, filtered through the high windows. You set the takeaway coffee on the circulation desk for Lila, with a small nod before grabbing the next stack of books for reshelving. The door swings open. A figure steps inside, tall, broad-shouldered, silver hair catching the light like metal. His eyes are a pale, unreadable grey, scanning the room before landing on you. He doesn't head for the desk. Instead, he walks straight toward the aisle where you're shelving. "You work here?" His voice is smooth with a faint lilt, like every word is a choice. You slide a book into place. Why? Curiosity. His gaze sweeps the shelf, then back to you. "I thought I knew most of the faces worth remembering in this town. Guess I was wrong." You shift the stack in your hands. "Guess so." A smirk touches his mouth. "Silas Crow." He says it like a fact you should file away. You arch a brow. "And?" His smirk deepens, like your refusal to be impressed is exactly what he wanted. "And I have a feeling we'll be seeing more of each other." You step around him to the next section. Don't count on it. He lets you pass, but you can feel his eyes on you until you turn the corner out of sight. The library's upper windows filter in slanted afternoon light, painting gold across the tops of the shelves. The air smells faintly of paper, coffee, and something sharper like the quiet anticipation of a storm. Your restocking returns when the sound of boots on the polished floor draws your attention. Silas Crow is leaning casually against the nearest shelf. hands in his jacket pockets. His silver hair catches the light like steel, his grey eyes cutting straight to you. "I hear you're already going to the bonfire," he says, voice carrying just enough to bridge the aisle between you. You slide a book into place without looking up. "News travels fast." "Not fast enough," he replies, pushing off the shelf and strolling closer. "Apparently, you've been asked by more than one man. Interesting problem to have." You lift the next book from your stack. "It's not a problem. Then you won't mind adding one more to the list." His smirk is deliberate, the kind that waits for you to push back. You finally glance at him. "Is this the part where you make it a competition?" "Not exactly." He stops just close enough for the edge of his shadow to spill across your hands. "Be my date, and I'll give you one wish." The book in your grip stills halfway to the shelf. "A wish?" "Anything you want." His tone is light, but his eyes are steady, watching for any flicker in yours. You finish sliding the book home, and what's the catch? "No catch, just my company for the night." His mouth tilts in that same faint smirk. "Unless that's too high a price." You step past him to the next shelf. "You're assuming I'd want to be part of whatever game you're playing." "Maybe," he says, following at a slower pace. "Or maybe I just want to see what you do when the rules aren't yours." You set the last book down on the cart and turn to face him. "Then you'll be disappointed." His smirk widens, not in mockery, but in recognition. Like he's found exactly what he was looking for. "We'll see." He steps back, hands sliding into his pockets again, and walks toward the exit without another word. You watch him go until the door closes behind him, the faint echo of his boots fading into the hush of the library. The library feels quieter after Silas leaves, though the faint scent of his cologne still lingers in the aisle. You stack the last few returns onto the cart and roll it toward the back room, trying to lose yourself in the hum of routine. By the time you step out into the late afternoon light, the sky has softened to pale amber. The streets are calm, just the occasional car rolling past. You pull your jacket tighter and start down the sidewalk. The low growl of an engine draws your eyes. A black motorcycle turns the corner, slowing as it approaches. Silas is behind the handlebars, silver hair catching in the breeze, grey eyes already locked on you. He eases to a stop right beside you. "Need a ride?" You shake your head. "I'm fine walking." His mouth curves. "Not what I asked. I said need, not want." You glance away. "I don't need either." Shame. His gaze sweeps you, not in a way that feels like a threat, but as if he's measuring something. "Because I was about to make you an offer you can't refuse." You cross your arms. "Try me." He tilts his head. "You're trying to keep the peace between Lucian and Rowan, right?" Your eyes narrow. "And that's why you should come with me to the bonfire." He says it easily, like he's discussing the weather. "You show up with me, the tension drops, at least for one night." You exhale slowly. You think they'll just back off? "I think they'll watch," he says, smirk deepening. "And that's all I need." You study him for a long moment. You make it sound like you're doing me a favour. "Maybe I am. Maybe I'm doing both of us one." His voice lowers slightly. "You'd rather be the spark or the fuse?" The question hangs there, heavy and deliberate. You glance past him, the street stretching out in quiet lines. Then you look back. "Fine. The bonfire. With you." For the first time, his smirk shifts into something closer to a real smile, small but sharper. "Good choice." He kicks the bike into gear. "I'll pick you up." And Alara. You pause mid-step. "What?" "Wear something that makes them look twice." The engine growls as he pulls away, the sound echoing against the buildings until he's gone. You stand there a moment longer, the cool air brushing over your skin before turning toward home. Chapter 8. The bonfire's glow is already visible from the road, a flickering orange against the darkening sky. Laughter and the faint crack of music carry on the breeze, growing louder as the black motorcycle turns onto the gravel path. Silas sits solid at the handlebars, shoulders straight, the steady purr of the engine drawing every pair of eyes in the clearing. You're seated behind him, hands resting lightly at his sides, the cold wind tugging at your hair. He slows only when the firelight paints your faces, the crowd's chatter thinning into a ripple of murmurs. The bike rolls to a stop near the heart of the gathering. Conversations stall, heads turn. You step off first, your boots crunching on the gravel. Silas follows, swinging one leg over the bike with a practiced ease. His presence is enough to hold attention, but it's the two of you together that turns curiosity into something sharper. From the other side of the fire, you catch sight of Lucian. His posture is relaxed, but the way his eyes track you says otherwise. Rowan stands a few feet away, his jaw tight, his drink untouched in his hand. Silas leans closer. Oops, ish. His voice pitched for you alone. Told you they'd look twice. You glance at him briefly before turning toward the fire. The warmth rolls over your face and hands, contrasting with the cool edge of the night. Sparks drift upward, swallowed by the dark. People start moving again, a few greetings tossed your way, a couple of sidelong glances paired with quiet whispers. Silas accepts a drink from someone, passing it to you before taking one for himself. Rowan is the first to close the distance. His steps are calm, measured, but the line of his shoulders is all tension. You came with him? Problem? Silas's tone is easy, but there's a gleam in his eye. Rowan's gaze shifts to you. Didn't think you'd go for theatrics? Guess you thought wrong, Silas answers before you can speak. Lucian joins them, his arrival cutting the space even thinner. He doesn't look at Silas first. He looks at you, his eyes scanning from your hair to the tips of your boots, like he's cataloguing every detail. Enjoying yourself? He asks, voice low. You take a sip from the cup. It's fine, Silas smirks. More than fine, but we're just getting started. The fire pops, sending a spray of sparks skyward. For a moment, no one says anything, the weight of their stares. Lucian's sharp. Rowan's guarded. Silas is edged with satisfaction, presses in from all sides. Somewhere in the crowd, someone calls your name, breaking the standoff. You step back, the firelight flickering over your face as you move toward the voice. Behind you, the three of them remain locked in a triangle of silence. The heat of the flames doing nothing to ease the cold in the air. The bonfire's heat rolls in steady waves, throwing sparks into the night sky. Music hums faintly under the chatter, the bass line trembling through the packed ground. You stand at the edge of the firelight, the fitted hem of your dress brushing your thighs as the wind shifts. Across the circle, Lucian, Rowan and Silas form 3 points in an invisible triangle, their gazes intersecting, sharp as drawn lines. None of them speak. But the space between them is weighted, the fire's glow carving their expressions into something almost primal. Silas stays close, the casual tilt of his shoulders disguising how deliberately he angles himself between you and their view. Told you this would be entertaining, he murmurs, eyes still forward. Your gaze slides past him. Lucian's green eyes catch yours through the shifting shadows, steady, unblinking. Rowan's glance follows a beat later, his mouth set, the muscle in his jaw flexing before he looks away. Someone passes with a tray of drinks. Silas takes one, then another, handing the second to you without turning his head. Sip, he says, more suggestion than order. The liquid is warm and sharp on your tongue. You keep your focus on the fire, but your peripheral catches every small shift, Lucian's stance widening, Rowan's grip tightening on his glass. Silas's faint smirk when he notices. A group laughs loudly near the other end of the fire, breaking the spell for a moment. You use the noise to step sideways, but Silas mirrors you, keeping pace without touching. You're popular tonight, he says, voice low enough that only you hear. I didn't ask for that. No, he agrees, but you walked in here like you owned it. Hard to ignore that. Before you can answer, a shadow falls across the space between you. Lucian is there, the heat from the fire throwing half his face into gold and leaving the other in shadow. Enjoying yourself? His tone is controlled, but there's an undercurrent that pushes at the edges. Silas doesn't move. More than you are. Rowan arrives before Lucian can respond, the air tightening instantly. Funny, I thought we came here to relax. His eyes flick to you. Is this relaxing? 3 sets of eyes pin you in place, each carrying its own weight. Lucian's searing, Rowan's searching. Silas is amused. The fire cracks sharply, sending up a spray of sparks. You take a step back, and the shift makes all 3 of them lean forward almost imperceptibly. Somewhere in the crowd, Lila calls your name. You turn toward her voice, the tension behind you stretching but not breaking. As you move away, the heat of their stares follows heavy, unyielding, and certain to ignite again before the night is over. The bonfire crowd has tightened into a rough circle, the heat and noise thickening as the night deepens. Bottles pass from hand to hand, the rhythm of a drinking game pulsing through the group like a current. Laughter spikes, then dies in bursts, replaced by the low hum of anticipation for the next turn. You're sitting between Lila and a guy whose name you can't remember. Across from you, Lucian, Rowan and Silas are spaced just far enough apart to make the tension look accidental. None of them are looking directly at each other, but you can feel every glance they steal when they think no one's watching. A girl to your right points the neck of an empty bottle in your direction. Your turn, Elara. The rules are simple. Answer the question or take the drink. What's the most dangerous thing you've done this year? She asks, the words edged with a dare. You feel the stares before you look up. Lucian's expression is unreadable. Rowan's brows lift just slightly, and Silas leans forward like he's settling in to enjoy the answer. You pick up the drink and take a slow sip. The crowd laughs, assuming your silence means something scandalous. The bottle moves on. Rowan's turn. Someone asks him his biggest regret. He doesn't look at you when he answers, not speaking up sooner. But the weight of the words lands in your chest anyway. Silas's question is next. Who here would you trust with your life? He smirks, tips his drink back, and says, Guess we'll find out. Then it's Lucian. Who here have you thought about kissing? The question drops into the circle like a lit match. His eyes flick to you before the last syllable leaves his mouth. The crowd whoops, the noise riding the tension like a wave. Lucian doesn't drink. Someone shouts for another round. But the current between the four of you has already shifted. Silas catches your gaze over the flames. Rowan's knee bumps yours under the circle, and Lucian just watches, still and intent, as if the game hasn't ended for him yet. The fire pops, sending sparks swirling upward, and the group leans in for the next question. But the air between you and them is already heavier than the smoke curling into the dark. Chapter 9. The air around the bonfire had been tense before, but now it feels like the flames are feeding on something sharper. The circle has loosened since the drinking game, people drifting toward the food tables or leaning in to talk over the music. But the 3 points of tension, Lucian, Silas and Rowan, have not moved far from each other. You're talking to Lila when you catch the flicker of movement in your periphery. Silas is on one side of the fire, speaking to someone you don't know, but his posture is loose, relaxed. Lucian, on the other hand, stands with his hands in his jacket pockets, his green eyes trained on the silver-haired alpha, like a hawk circling prey. Rowan notices too. His gaze flicks between them, the corner of his mouth tightening. It happens fast. Lucian crosses the space, not in a rush, but with a stride that pulls every nearby glance. He stops just inside Silas's shadow. Enjoying the attention? Silas doesn't bother to turn fully toward him. More than you are. Lucian's jaw shifts. You think walking in with her makes you untouchable? Silas finally faces him, smirk faint but deliberate. No, I think it makes you uncomfortable. That's when Rowan steps forward, voice cutting low through the fire's crackle. Are we really doing this here? Lucian's eyes don't leave Silas. Not unless he keeps pushing. I'm not pushing, Silas says smoothly. I'm just standing where she asked me to stand. The words are casual, but the implication is anything but. Lucian takes one step closer. The space between them is now thin enough that the firelight casts their shadows into a single jagged shape on the ground. Rowan's hand twitches at his side. Like he's ready to intercept, you move before you think, sliding between them with your palms out. Enough! Lucian's eyes snap to yours, the heat in them unsoftened by your presence. Silas's gaze is cooler, but the curl at the corner of his mouth hasn't gone anywhere. Not here, you say, voice low but firm. For a beat, no one moves. The fire pops, and a spray of sparks drifts up into the dark. Lucian steps back first, his expression unreadable. Silas follows a moment later, tipping his head as if conceding for now. Rowan exhales slowly, but his eyes stay locked on Lucian until the alpha turns away. The conversations around the fire pick back up, but the undercurrent remains, humming low and dangerous beneath the music and laughter. You can feel it in the way each of them still watches, even from a distance, a tension that hasn't broken, only shifted, waiting for the next spark. The fire's glow fades behind you, replaced by the steady hum of night insects and the crunch of gravel under your boots. The laughter and music are just a faint echo now, carried away on the wind. Silas walks ahead, hands in his jacket pockets, silver hair catching stray beams from the street lamps along the path. His motorcycle waits at the far end, black paint glinting under the moonlight. He doesn't speak until you're close enough to see your reflection in the chrome. "Helmet," he says, holding it out without looking at you. You take it, the cool shell brushing your fingers against his. The engine starts with a low, smooth growl. He swings one leg over, settling into the seat before glancing back. "You riding or walking?" You fit the helmet on, ignoring the smirk that tugs at his mouth. "Riding." He waits until you're seated behind him before easing the bike forward. The gravel gives way to smooth asphalt, and the wind lifts strands of your hair where the helmet doesn't cover. The night air is cooler now, carrying the scent of pine and distant wood smoke. Silas leans into the turns with practiced ease, your hands braced lightly against his sides. "You handled yourself well back there," he says suddenly, voice clear over the hum of the engine. "At the fire?" "At the triangle you walked into," he corrects, and you can hear the faint grin in his tone. "Most people would have picked a side just to survive the heat." You tighten your grip slightly as the bike curves onto a quieter road. "And you think I didn't?" "I think you're still deciding," he says, softer now, almost lost to the wind. Street lamps pass in a slow rhythm, each one throwing his profile into brief relief, sharp jaw, steady eyes on the road ahead. "You're not what they think you are," he adds after a pause. "And I'm not what I make them see." The words are casual, but there's weight under them, enough to settle between you. You watch the blur of trees at the roadside. "And what's that supposed to mean?" He shifts his shoulders, the movement subtle against your hands, that maybe I like more than just the game. The rest of the ride is quieter, filled only by the engine's purr and the night's cool breath. When he finally slows, it's in front of your house, the porch light spilling over the steps. He cuts the engine but doesn't move to take off his helmet. Instead, he turns his head slightly toward you. "Next time you walk into a fire, make sure you know who's willing to walk out with you." You hand back the helmet. "And are you?" The smirk returns, faint but sure. "Guess you'll find out." You step off the bike, the gravel crunching under your boots again. By the time you reach the porch, the engine's growl is already fading into the night. You glance back once, catching the last glint of silver hair before the darkness swallows it. The night is still when you step inside, the soft click of the door latch echoing in your quiet entryway. The after bonfire chill lingers in your skin, the faint scent of wood smoke still clinging to your jacket. You toe off your boots, the creak of the floorboards the only sound. You've barely taken a step toward the stairs when a knock sounds low, deliberate on the front door. Your breath catches. When you open it, Lucian stands there under the porch light, shadows cutting across the sharp lines of his face. His green eyes are fixed on you, unwavering, the night air curling around him like something alive. "I can't wait any longer," he says, voice quiet but weighted, each word carved out like stone. You grip the doorframe. "Lucian," he steps forward. Just enough that the light catches in his eyes. "I've been standing out here trying to give you space. I can't do it anymore. The space between you feels thin, the kind that can't be crossed without changing something permanently." His gaze drops briefly to your mouth, then returns to your eyes. "Every time I leave, I end up right back here. Doesn't matter who's around you, doesn't matter what they think." You hold his stare, the silence pressing in as steady as his presence. "Let me in," he says finally. Softer now, but no less certain, you step back without a word. Lucian crosses the threshold, the scent of cedar and the faint trace of smoke following him inside. The door shuts with a quiet click, and the house feels smaller instantly. He doesn't touch you not yet, but his nearness is a physical thing, pulling at every nerve in the space between you. "I'm not here to talk about them," he says, his voice low, each syllable deliberate. "I'm here for you." For a moment, the only sound is the faint hum of the fridge in the kitchen, the clock's slow tick. Then he closes the gap entirely, his breath warm against your cheek. "I can't wait," he repeats, and the words are a promise, as much as a confession. Chapter 10. The morning sun is pale, the kind that gives no warmth. You're walking along the edge of the empty sports field, the grass still wet with dew, when the sound of raised voices cuts through the quiet. At first, it's muffled, just the rhythm of two people talking too fast, too loud. Then you catch the edge in Rowan's tone. "You think showing up at her door in the middle of the night makes you the better man?" Lucian's reply is sharper, clear even from a distance. "I think it makes me the one who doesn't hide behind timing." You round the corner of the storage shed and see them, Rowan and Lucian, standing a few feet apart on the cracked pavement behind the gym. The space between them is tight, their shoulders squared, eyes locked. Rowan takes a step forward. "You don't care what she wants. You just push until she gives in." Lucian's jaw flexes. "And you pretend you're different?" "I am different," Rowan says. "I don't need to tear her life apart to be in it." The air between them feels like it's vibrating. You move closer, your boots scuffing against the pavement. Both their heads turn slightly, clocking your approach, but neither drops their guard. "This isn't the place," you say, voice steady. Lucian doesn't look away from Rowan. "It's exactly the place." Rowan's hands curl at his sides, his stance shifting as if he's bracing for more than words. "You've made this into a fight neither of us can walk away from." Lucian takes another step, their shoulders almost aligned now. Good, then stop pretending we're anything but rivals. The tension peaks, two forces pushing, neither giving. The sound of distant traffic feels too far away, like the rest of the world has stepped back to watch. You step between them, palms out, the heat of both their stares burning into you. Enough! Whatever you think you're proving, this isn't it. For a moment, neither moves. Then Rowan steps back, his eyes still on Lucian. This doesn't end here. Lucian's mouth curves, not a smile, but the bare edge of one. No, it doesn't. They break apart, heading in opposite directions without another word. But the crack in the air they've left behind feels permanent, a line drawn too deep to erase. The Drake estate is quiet, the kind of quiet that feels intentional. Even the gravel crunches softly under your shoes as you cross the courtyard toward the front steps. The air is heavy with the scent of trimmed hedges and distant rain. Inside, the light is muted, filtered through high windows and drawn curtains. The silence doesn't break until you reach the study. Damien Drake is there, standing by the tall window with a glass in his hand. He doesn't turn when you step in, his gaze fixed somewhere beyond the manicured lawn. "Elara," he says, his voice low but carrying. "Close the door." "You do." The click of the latch sounds too loud in the still room. He turns then, green eyes sharp in a face carved by authority. "You've been spending a great deal of time with my son. You keep your chin level. Lucian makes his own choices." Damien's mouth tightens. "You're right, but choices have consequences for him. For this family." He sets the glass down on the desk with deliberate care. "There are arrangements, alliances, expectations, things you don't see, and your presence, no matter how unintentional, disrupts them." The weight in his tone makes it clear he isn't speaking about schoolyard gossip. "I'm not trying to disrupt anything," you say. "And yet you are," Damien replies. He steps closer, the faint scent of expensive cologne blending with the cedar and paper of the study. "You come from a world far removed from ours. That's not an insult. It's a fact, and facts can be dangerous when ignored." You hold his gaze. "Are you telling me to stay away from him?" "I'm telling you," he says, voice dropping a shade lower, "that the more you are in his orbit, the more you'll be drawn into battles you can't win. And when those battles touch this family, it won't just be you who pays the price." The quiet stretches. Outside, a crow calls once before the sound fades into the distance. Damien straightens, smoothing the cuff of his shirt. "I'm asking you to think for his sake, if not for yours." With that, he turns back toward the window, the conversation closed in his mind. You stand there a moment longer, the reflection of the rain-streaked glass catching your outline before you turn and leave the study, the weight of his words following you down the hall. The study door clicks shut behind you, Damien's words still heavy in your ears. The hallway is dim, the only light spilling from a wall sconce halfway down. Lucian is there. He's leaning against the wall, one shoulder braced, hands in his jacket pockets. The shadows cut across his face, but his eyes, bright, unblinking green, are fixed entirely on you. "How much of that did you hear?" you ask. "Enough." His voice is quiet, but the weight in it is unmistakable. "Enough to know my father thinks you're a problem." You straighten your posture. "He's worried about the families." "I don't care what he's worried about," Lucian cuts in, pushing off the wall. His steps are unhurried, but everyone brings him closer until he's standing in front of you, close enough that you catch the faint scent of cedar under his cologne. "What I care about is that he thought he could say that to you." "He wasn't threatening me," you say. His jaw flexes. "That's exactly what it was." You hold his gaze. "Lucian, he was warning me. And maybe, don't." The word lands sharp, almost cutting. "Don't tell me maybe he's right." The air between you is tight. His hands stay in his pockets, but the tension in his shoulders is visible, coiled. "You think I can't handle the fallout?" he asks, voice low now. "The kind that pulls you in instead of pushing you back. You think I care what it costs me to have you in my life? This isn't just about you," you say. He made that clear. Lucian leans in just enough that the shadows shift over his cheekbones. "I don't care if it's about me, the family, or the whole damn city. No one gets to decide for me, and no one gets to scare you off." For a moment, you both just stand there, the silence broken only by the distant tick of the grandfather clock in the hall. His eyes search yours, looking for something: permission, reassurance, anything to anchor the storm behind them. "I'm not letting you walk away because he told you to." You open your mouth, But before you can answer, he steps back just enough to turn toward the far end of the hall. If he wants to make this a fight, fine. He'll see how far I'm willing to go. The quiet returns as his footsteps fade, but the charge he leaves behind lingers, humming in the air long after he's gone. The air still hums with Lucian's last words when you finally move, your footsteps carrying you toward the front door. You don't look back down the hall, but you hear the faint echo of another door opening, the one to Damien's study. Lucian's voice cuts through, sharper now. "We need to talk." You stop at the edge of the foyer, half hidden by the shadow of the staircase. Damien stands by his desk, glass in hand, posture perfectly composed. "I don't recall sending for you." "I didn't come for an invitation," Lucian says, stepping fully into the study. His tone is low but edged, each word measured like he's holding himself back from something louder. Damien sets the glass down. "If this is about Alara—" "It is," Lucian interrupts. "You don't talk to her like that. Not now, not ever." Damien's gaze sharpens. "You think you can tell me how to protect this family?" "This isn't protection," Lucian fires back. "It's control. You're trying to scare her off because she doesn't fit into your perfect little plan." Damien steps closer, the lamplight glinting off the gold at his cufflinks. "You don't see the whole picture, I do. And the picture doesn't work if she's in it." Lucian's shoulders square, the set of his jaw unyielding. "Then change the picture." For a moment, neither moves. The tension thickens, pressing against the walls. Damien's voice drops, quieter but heavier. "One day, you'll understand the weight of what's at stake. Until then, you're acting like a boy chasing what he wants instead of a man protecting what he's built." Lucian takes another step forward, closing the gap until they're almost eye to eye. "You think this is just chasing? Watch me prove you wrong." The silence after that is long, unblinking. You can see the flicker of something in Damien's expression, not doubt exactly, but recognition of a challenge he can't ignore. Then, with a controlled breath, Damien picks up his glass again. "Be careful, Lucian. Not everything you're willing to fight for will survive the fight." Lucian's reply is simple, flat. "Neither will I." He turns on his heel and walks out, his eyes catching yours for the briefest second as he passes in the hallway, a flash of green, sharp and certain. You're left standing in the quiet, Damien's measured breathing on one side, Lucian's retreating footsteps on the other. The camera of the moment holds there between two men on opposite sides of a battle line before the screen cuts to black.